Santi died early in the morning. I remember the night before saying goodnight to him, and then the next morning waking up, looking over and him not being in that bed. It's a very vivid image when I close my eyes of that feeling of like waking up and just discombobulated.
She was like a roller coaster in her grief.
We always wonder what would have been of her if she didn't have the outlet to express herself that a good grief provided. And this becomes something that we do as a family, which is great in keeping the family as a unit.
I could tell my parents were finding it easier to not only do things as a family, but also do things as a family in memory of Santi. My realizing that I wasn't alone in grief, like walking through the halls of elementary school, as we were saying before, I did feel like I was alone. I was the only person in the world grieving.
She felt like she was the only one. And here, no, she felt like she was part of a group. She wasn't the only one.
The teachers just did not know how to handle me. They just didn't know what to do with me. And so they would send me to the guidance counselor. And one day in 4th grade, I had the typical outburst of crying and emotions and whatever. And he straight up told me, he was like, Caroline, it's time to move on. Like, it's been 4 years. This is just like not appropriate behavior for you anymore.
So many people don't have any idea.
I would have those experiences during the day, and then I would come here, and it was like night and day. People would cry with me or laugh or make jokes or just let me cry in the corner, because those are the things that kids need. Good Grief was a really safe place for me to just be and like grieve and have my emotions without anyone like trying to police them. Or school became like a pretty hostile place for me in that way. I remember on 3rd grade, first day, we're sitting and like filling out those like get to know you sheets that your teachers have you fill out on the first day.
They had to draw the family. And Caroline drew the family of 5.
My whole life since Santi died, we always made it a point to be like, I have a brother, he is just dead. And so I wrote 2 on the box.
And the teacher approached her and said, no, Caroline, that's wrong.
I'll never forget, my teacher comes up to me, points at the box and goes, Caroline, that's wrong, change it.
She learned here in Good Grief that losing a family member is not that you lose it forever, it disappears. It's still part of your family.
I think if you go through programs like the one that Good Grief, in terms of understanding, it's making educators like her that are gonna be facing with grieving kids.
Your sibling, your loved one is always gonna be part of your family.
The work that Good Grief does is fundamental, because we talk a lot about the support they provide to grieving families like we were, but also it does tremendous work in terms of education. And there's a whole program that needs to be funded as well, in terms of going to schools and going to other places that don't necessarily have the resources or the understanding of how important is to normalize grief and help kids.
When thinking about the person I would have been without Good Grief, it's difficult, because Good Grief has been a part of my life for so long. So thinking about who I would have been without Good Grief is like erasing 15 years of me.